welcome. Today we're gonna rank the 2028 GOP candidates for the vice presidency. So let's begin. Starting off with a bit of a joke. Eric Adams, yeah, you heard me right. New York City Mayor Eric Adams could switch to the GOP in order to have a chance of getting a pardon from President Trump, even though he's probably not gonna get it, which is really funny. But yeah, we got the joke candidates out of the way. And now for MTG. So MTG, not a surprise here that she would be an electoral nuclear bomb in a bad way. She would really be awful with independence. She wouldn't even really help in Georgia. So yeah, I mean, she would be one of the worst candidates that GOP could nominate, in my opinion. And yeah, even Eric Adams. Eric Adams is the worst one because of his migration issues in New York City and the fact that he's flip-flopped and all that sort of stuff. And now we can move on to the D tier. And the first candidate here is actually going to be Nikki Haley. I know some people might not like me putting her this far down, but bear in mind she ran against Trump, Vance, who is the likely 2028 GOP candidate, which is why if he picks Nikki Haley, who ran against Trump in 2024, it would be almost like spitting in the face of the Trump wave or the Trump wing. She wouldn't be the worst candidate, but it would be a bold strategy to say the least, and he shouldn't do that at all. Next one coming up is really just mostly because she doesn't really bring much to the table. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the current governor of Arkansas. Yeah, she is from the Trump wing, but she's not really that popular with, the Trumpists. She's also from a ruby red state. She wouldn't really bring much to the table apart from just being a Trump acolyte. And that's really why, I mean, she would help with women voters, but Vance needs something more than that. So, and now coming up, this might be a bit of a surprise to some people, but I think Ted Cruz would actually meet the D tier. And there's a good reason for this because, as you can see, Trump won in Texas by almost 14%. And if we go to the Senate race with Cruz against Allred, who wasn't the best candidate, bear in mind, he only won by 8.5%, so he really underperformed Trump by a whole 5%, which might not sound like much, but if Trump only won Texas by like 4 or 5, Cruz would have lost. I think Cruz is really hated by a lot of Democrats, and independents don't really like him. And even Trump people see him as a bit of a rhino, so he really wouldn't bring much, apart from being from Texas, and that's really about it for him. And now for someone that is just above him, in my opinion, Chris Sununu. The only reason why I really have him above Ted Cruz and Sarah Huckabee Sanders is just because of the fact that he's from New Hampshire, and if Vance would pick him, it would make New Hampshire go into play into 2028, and that would make it easier for the GOP to win. Just adding another swing state is a big factor, an advantage for Chris Sununu. The issue is he is seen by a lot of Republicans as a rhino, as ineffective in some ways at helping the GOP in New Hampshire, which is why he's not in the C tier in my opinion. And also the fact he doesn't have a job at the moment, that actually kind of low-key helps him a bit. And now for the C tier now. So the first one, I think, I'm gonna go with this. So Katie Britt, the senator from Alabama, she would be the definition of a meh pick. Not a horrible pick, but not a great pick. I know that she's basically liked by all wings of the GOP, but the issue is she's from Alabama, so she wouldn't really bring that much to the table. Bring a bit more than Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because I just checked, they're actually the same age though, but I'd say Katie Britt is a bit more charismatic, even though her speech during the State of the Union was very bad, to be honest, a bit cringy, but she has the connections in Congress. She is very well liked by a lot of people. Even, Fetterman, for example, is a good friend of hers, so she would be really good at legislation, and that's basically the main reason why she's in D tier, but just basically a meh pick. And now for Greg Abbott, I don't know. I could see Greg Abbott below Katie Britt, above Katie Britt, but if you want someone that's really conservative, that all wings of the GOP would not only trust, but like, I think Greg Abbott would be the guy for Vance in 2028. It would also bring the Sun Belt towards Vance, which is really one of the main areas that I do see Vance struggling in 2028. And Greg Abbott, he would be, I think he's going to run for he would be running for his 4th term in 2026 at that point, so I think it'll be time to call it quits and to move on to the next step, which would be something like a vice presidency, and it wouldn't be a bad idea. And now Rand Paul. So Rand Paul, if Vance is trying to build something more post-Trumpism, Rand Paul would really help with the libertarian vote. I know that he's very much liked by most wings of the GOP, but I think that Vance will need to bring something new to the table, and someone that of the ideology Rand Paul would really help that out. And even though he's from Kentucky, which really doesn't help Vance at all, it would be an okay choice that all wings that the GOP would like. He also has experience in the Senate long term. His father, Ron Paul, a staple of the libertarian movement, wouldn't be a bad choice. Probably could even be beneficial choice in the Appalachia region, which is really one of the areas that Trumpism thrives. So I think it'd be better than Abbott and Katie Britt, but just my gut is telling me that Rand Paul would be a good choice for Vance to go with. And now Tim Scott, he's from South Carolina and is the chair of the NRC. The main takeaway for picking Tim Scott would be the African American vote, which is really something that is helping out Dems, and picking a vice presidential candidate would really help with African American turnout, and that really will hurt Democrats. The issue for Tim Scott, he's not as Trumpy, but Vance, as long as he's really Trumpy, he could probably make a pick like Tim Scott, but maybe I should put Byron Donalds. I would probably put Byron Donalds in the same spot as Tim Scott, FYI. And now for, in my opinion, a definition of a dark horse, a really rogue shout in 2028, has to be Sean Duffy. I know some of you probably don't even know who he is, but he's Donald Trump's Secretary of Transportation nominee. He was in the House of Representatives in Wisconsin's 7th District, passive district attorney. He's a Catholic, and he's actually he's only 7 years less than Kamala Harris, but he looks quite young, I think, yeah. He doesn't look 53, that's odd, actually. But yeah, the main reason for Sean Duffy being in the C tier is the fact he's from Wisconsin. He's Secretary of Transportation, so Trump likes him. He's very much liked by all wings of the GOP, and alongside that, Wisconsin is key because that was Donald Trump's weakest state in 2024. So Sean Duffy would really be a rogue shout to the vice presidency. Vance would really solidify the Rust Belt with picking someone like Sean Duffy or someone from the Rust Belt. And now for someone a bit more different, Joe Lombardo. So Joe Lombardo, shining star from the 2022 midterms for the GOP. Joe Lombardo, the incumbent governor of Nevada, a state that went to Trump by 3%. The reason for Lombardo being here is because he is from a swing state. He has history of a cop, so if he wants to go with a law and order type of candidacy, Joe Lombardo would be the right guy. The main issue why he's not in the B tier is because he could be seen as a bit of a rhino by some of the GOP wing, and that really tanks his rating, in my opinion. Even though he can't really do much about it because it's Nevada. You have to be a bit center-right in order to be the governor or even senator or any politician in Nevada. But yeah, Lombardo, C tier. And now, a bit of a hot take here. Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson, the main problem for him is that he doesn't hold office. But the Trump wing, the GOP, would really love someone like Tucker Carlson. Someone that is a populist. Someone that is a Trump acolyte. Someone that Trump really trusts in. Tucker Carlson would really be a bit of a curveball for politics and for the GOP, but it'd be in the right direction. Since Vance, I think he's gonna double down on populism and the GOP and just try to go for the Rust Belt, just like Trump did. Since Trump wants someone that will be his rightful successor, and someone like Tucker Carlson would really double down the GOP efforts inside populism. And now let's go. So Vivek Ramaswamy. He's basically Tucker Carlson, but kind of holds office. That's really the main issue. The main reason why he barely edges out Tucker Carlson. Vivek Ramaswamy, he currently is the co-manager of Doge, so that does help him. So he is quite actively in congressional politics with a budget right now, for example. The problem for Vivek Ramaswamy, though, is, as many of you can tell, is that he's also from Ohio, though. So he would probably have to change his residency, which is not an issue. He can just do that. I mean, Dick Cheney did that back in 2000, so not an issue. He would help in the Rust Belt, though, with populism, but I don't know how you do with the independents, though, but maybe he could actually grab on some of those Trump 2024 voters in exchange. And now for someone that some people would be really surprised about, so Donald Trump Jr. I have him in C tier. I mean, in my opinion, if his name wasn't Trump, he would be probably like below D tier, but from the marketing aspect, you gotta realize that a lot of Trump voters in 2028 might just look at the ballot and the news, mostly the news, and see if Trump is running 2028. And if they see Trump on the ballot or Trump running in 2028, they might just turn out. Just plain simple. They might just turn out like they did in 2024 because there's a Trump running. and that marketing aspect could just be successful just because of that in a weird way. I don't know if I could explain it better, but the main takeaway for Trump Jr. in 2028 is just the fact that it would put Trump on the ballot, or a Trump on the ballot, I should say. Issue is he's not nearly as charismatic as his father, and he is a bit awkward in some ways. So anyway, now let me see if I have everyone. Yeah, we can move on to the B tier. So the first person in the B tier, I'm gonna go with Brian Kemp. I know that some of the people in the Trump wing would not like that, but if you're trying to go and really have a shot at the presidency in 2028, nothing really would help you more than someone from the swing state that most of the GOP wing would like to see run. I think the only issue with Brian Kemp is that the 2020 elections really kind of hurt his feelings with Trump and Trumpism. I think that single-handedly drops him from S tier to B tier. Moving on, so Marco Rubio. Yeah, Marco Rubio, who is likely going to be Donald Trump's Secretary of State. He would be a good backup choice for Vance. I wouldn't put him like a first choice, but if something doesn't work out, Marco Rubio would help a lot with Latino voters, the Latino shift, which is something that the Democrats have been bleeding out on for the last 8 years, or I should say just throughout the time of Trumpism. It would really benefit Vance picking someone that is not only has history in Florida, as you can see that he is this current senator right now. He has a bunch of experience. He almost became the VP nominee in 2012. So everyone in the GOP wing would love him to be in the presidential ticket, and he's also gonna have Secretary of State on his resume, so he'd be a very good backup choice. I wouldn't put him like first, but nothing would really help the GOP with Latino trends than having a Hispanic man in the vice presidency. And now we can move on to Josh Hawley. So Josh Hawley, very similar to JD Vance ideology-wise, which kind of makes me think, could almost kind of remind me of Bill Clinton picking Al Gore in 1992. I think the path for JD Vance to win in 2028 is by doubling down on populism and Trumpism and really going for that. And someone like Josh Hawley, who is also a millennial, basically very similar to JD Vance, although he is from Missouri, so that really kind of hurts him though, because it's a safe state. But yeah, not a bad choice, technically from the Rust Belt, if you could say that. Anyway, Doug Burgum, he is the candidate that you look at him and he looks like he is like a president or vice president. You look at him as you can tell that this man is in politics. He has a long history in business. He's also going to be, I think, in the Trump administration in some way. I think, was it? Let me check. Yeah, Secretary of Interior. He is very much pro-coal, pro-oil, drill baby drill, that sort of thing, and that really would satisfy that mostly conservative and almost establishment-like part of the GOP wing. So I think Vance could be more of a populist, but in exchange, he could pick someone like Burgum and really satisfy all wings of the GOP and really pump out those rural numbers, in my opinion, which he needs in 2028. And now we can move on to Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, as many of you know, back in the 2024 primary, a lot of Trump voters had Ron DeSantis as their second choice. DeSantis, by the time of 2028, likely won't have a job, and he'd be a free person to give the vice presidency in 2028. And I think that nothing speaks like appealing to Trumpism than picking the popular governor of Florida, aka the Trump capital of politics. I think DeSantis would be okay. He would also do really good with Italian Americans, so maybe the trends in New Jersey could even go to the right of 2024. And Ron DeSantis has name recognition, which some of these candidates do lack. And now for Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin, the guy who almost flipped New York red in the 2022 gubernatorial race if Vance goes for a law and order sort of campaign against Democrats, especially someone like Newsom. Zeldin would be a very good choice. He's also gonna probably be the administrator of the EPA, so he's gonna have time in the Trump administration. And overall, he's a good candidate. He's more charismatic than Ron DeSantis, in my opinion, and he knows more. I think he'd be more appealing to the working class vote, which really helps him quite a lot and puts him into the B tier. And now we're gonna go with Lara Trump. Yeah, Lara Trump in the B tier. She's basically a better version of Trump Jr. in a way because she has experience in politics, being the co-chair, the RNC. And unlike Trump Jr., again, she's more charismatic than him. She has that experience before, not that much though. Still, something in politics would really help her. Alongside that, she is also rumored to even maybe run for Senate, so that would really help her getting experience. And just like I said for Trump Jr., having a Trump on the ballot could just be enough to turn out those Trump voters from 2024. Because some voters might even think that Trump is running again, but as a vice president or something like that. And that just, just the marketing aspect of that would be enough to maybe flip the Rust Belt again or I should say win the Rust Belt again for the GOP. But apart from that, she doesn't bring that much else to the table. But anyway, that's it for the B tier. For the C tier, we're gonna go for the first one. I know this might be a bit of a hot take, but I'm gonna put Tulsi Gabbard in the A tier because bear in mind a lot of the Trump people that Trump was able to turn out from 2016 to 2024 were former Democrats or apolitical people. Tulsi Gabbard could be an olive branch to the Trump wing of the GOP, and alongside that, she could even maybe get some progressives. Yeah, that's weird to say, but some of those Bernie voters to vote for Vance in 2028. Yeah, she could actually do that, weirdly enough, because she used to campaign for Bernie Sanders, but now she's a Republican registered now. So unlike Eric Adams, she actually is a Republican now. So that really would be a solid choice for Vance to pick, because she would be a good olive branch to the GOP and really would double down that Trumpism within the Republican Party, which that could also be a bit of a problem, because maybe she wouldn't be able to turn out those voters that are really about guns, or maybe like religious voters, which is why she's not S tier in my opinion. I know that I might get some slack for this, but I expect RFK Jr. to be open to maybe even running 2020 as a Republican, so that's why I have him in that A tier alongside Tulsi Gabbard. Bear in mind, he formed a pact with Trump in 2024, so he took his name off the ballot of most states, not all of them though. And as you can see, that really helped out Trump a lot. And RFK Jr., his Make America Healthy Again brand would really appeal to not only Trump voters, but some other like apolitical voters, independent voters, and maybe some former Democrats in the past who might not be a fan of Trump. And having Kennedy on the ballot would really be something that would turn out those 2024 Trump voters. They might even think it's John F. Kennedy Jr. Wouldn't be surprised about that. That single-handedly could make it so that your average apolitical voter just votes in 2028 because he sees the name Kennedy. And yeah, and now for the last one, for my opinion, the easiest and the most clear pick for JD Vance to pick in 2028, it has to be Glenn Youngkin. Not only is he a very charismatic governor, he's also from he's the governor of Virginia, so that would single-handedly add another state that the Democrats would have to campaign, put a lot of money and donations into, and that would make it even harder for Democrats. And Democrats would be stretched even thinner in these swing states because they have to campaign New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Virginia probably in 2028. Overall, he's very much well-liked by every single wing of the GOP, and he would be a really good addition for Vance in his likely 2028 presidential bid. But yeah, that's it for my tier list. Let me know what your tier list looks like. As always, feel free to leave a like, join the Discord and the channel membership, and as always, have a good rest of your day.